Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world and when you are watching this video. Welcome to this live stream for Paramount IELTS. Today, we are going to be continuing this week's theme of work, and we are going to be looking at workplaces. There's going to be a couple of part ones here which are unrelated, and then the part 2 and part 3 are going to be talking about work. So if you are watching, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. And yeah, let's get started. So this stream is for Paramount IELTS. My name is Luke, and I'm a former IELTS examiner. If anybody wants to join the stream, there is a link in the Facebook group. So you would be welcome to come along to that. But let's get started with Christine. So today we are looking at work. Let's move on and look at part ones. So speaking part 1, this section lasts for 4 to 5 minutes. You will talk about 3 topics in total. So if you are developing and making your answers a little bit too long, the examiner will stop you because they want to get onto the 3rd topic. And these are usually general everyday topics, things that you might talk about when you first meet someone, although some of them are a little bit unusual. And remember to try and develop your answers as well. So when you give your answers, try and give a little bit of extra information. Okay, so let's take a look at our first question set, talking about music. So let's get Christine onto the stream. Hi, Christine.
Hi, this is a hard question.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Are you ready to talk a bit about music?
I will be.
Okay, let's get started then. So what types of music do you like to listen to?
I listen to different types of music. There's not really one type of genre that I listen to, but mostly my go-to genres are either maybe Broadway music or indie rock.
Okay. At what times of day do you like to listen to music?
Typically, and it depends on my mood, but it's usually when I'm not doing anything or when I'm working out. Actually, I listen to music because I need that energy boost, serotonin that will get and lighten up my mood while I'm working out.
Did you learn to play a musical instrument when you were a child?
Actually, as a kid, I grew up trying to play the guitar, but nobody really formally taught me how to do it. So I didn't really progress in terms of playing instruments, but I've been teaching myself how to play the guitar and piano. I mean, keyboard, but I'm not very competent when it comes to playing these instruments.
Okay. Do you think all children should learn to play a musical instrument?
I think it is actually a good way to good way for them to spend their time productively. I feel like kids who have learned how to play instruments as a kid are more disciplined and are more artistically inclined when it comes to exploring whatever they want to do in the future, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Well done, Christine. Some really great vocabulary there. So people listening in, absolutely make sure that you take note of some of that. Remember, Christine is a very high level speaker. So when you record yourself and listen back, think of her language more as a goal rather than something to compare yourself with. Don't be demoralized. She has spent years practicing. What do you think you did really well there? What was good?
I think in terms of confidence, even if I wasn't prepared with these questions, I was able to answer it in a good way compared to the usual way that I freak out when I'm thrown with questions that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah. So I think that's a fair thing
maybe,
to say. You're a lot more
yeah,
comfortable with your speaking and development. In terms of vocabulary,
yes,
brilliant.
I think.
Nobody formally, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, saying things like nobody formally taught me, that is just really natural and quite high level, showing nice variety. Different types of music, talking about Broadway and indie rock. You could give a couple more categories just to show the diversity of your language here,
Okay.
but it can be quite difficult on the spot to think of lots of different things to say. You're talking about listening to music and your productivity. One point, just really minor, you said it gives me an energy serotonin boost. Really minor slip. It's not going to be a problem. Yeah, but you suddenly change to try and get the higher level vocabulary there. It slightly interrupts the flow.
Sorry, what did I say?
You were talking about, you were going to say it gave you an energy boost when you were working out.
Okay.
And then you suddenly stopped and switched energy for serotonin because you're thinking, oh, that's higher level vocabulary.
Okay.
But yeah, just try and maintain the flow, but really good. And the pronunciation is beautiful, really nice, changing on stress in the words to emphasize meaning. So yeah, really, really good, really good. Hi, Chantwali. Welcome to the stream and thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. And yeah, if you want to join these sessions, you are more than welcome to. So thanks for taking the time to come along. Right. Well done, Christine. Let's look at the next set of questions. Now let's talk about parks. Do you like going to parks in your free time?
The last time I went to a park is actually maybe at least before the pandemic. Before the pandemic happened. Not really like the type of park where there are different types of playgrounds or where usually a lot of people hang out. But there's this thing we call around our neighborhood, like Fish Creek Provincial Park.
Okay. Who do you usually go to parks with?
I usually go by myself because I find it relaxing and rejuvenating, even if I just go to the parks all by myself.
Why?
Because I get to experience I get to experience and appreciate the value of nature itself. Especially when I'm alone, compared to when I hang out with other people, I'm more engaged with the conversation.
What do people enjoy doing when they go to parks?
I think because Canada is rich in parks. I mean, in nature. People enjoy the exposure to different types of trees and animals that they see in parks. Whereas if you're in the city, it's more busy and buzzing. Like, a lot of people are just around.
Do you think there are enough parks where you live?
I think there are lots of. Yes, there are. Certainly, there's a lot of parks that we have here compared to from where I used to live at least.
Okay, good. So what do you think about that question set?
Harder.
A bit harder. Okay.
I don't talk about parks with anyone. It's such a random topic.
Yeah, so that is the problem that lots of people have. Even people who are quite high level in their speaking suddenly get a topic they're not used to, and it can really catch them by surprise. So the fluency did drop there at a couple of points. It's not a major issue. You do speak very naturally and you keep going. But especially when we were talking about, I think, who do you usually go to parks with? And you're talking about going on your own, and gave quite a short answer. So to develop it a bit more, I asked why, and you had quite a long pause there.
But I had to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is such an important difference as well. in your IELTS test, there's a difference between thinking for language and thinking for ideas. If you're thinking for grammar and vocabulary, it brings your fluency score down. If you're thinking for ideas, it shouldn't affect your fluency score. So make it really clear when if the examiner asks you anything you're not sure of. Say, oh, I've not really thought about that. Just give me a second.
Oh, okay.
Buy yourself a few seconds and then continue speaking. Okay. Welcome, Najam. Najam is watching in the stream as well. So if you ever want to join, absolutely, you guys are welcome. There is a link in the group. Chan Tua is asking as well. Najam, sorry, is asking about taking interviews and guiding for where they can improve. Yeah, the easiest way to do it is to join one of these streams and I'll give you some feedback. We do offer a writing and speaking correction services and mock speaking tests as well. You can find that on our website, which is down in the bottom left corner there, www.paramountielts.com. Those speaking feedback services are paid services, but you can also get some free feedback in a bit less detail joining us on these streams. So yeah, absolutely check that out, or feel free to join one of the streams in the future. Good, Christine. Right, let's move on and look at the part 2 here.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So for them to understand that I'm still thinking about what I want to answer, do I just emphasize that? So I'm sorry, I'll have to, you could give me a moment to think about what to answer. So,
yeah, it's a lot more common in part 3, to be honest. In part 1, most of the answers should be fairly quick and natural. Okay. But in part 3, if you get a very difficult question, absolutely just tell them that you're thinking about it. Say, oh, that's a tricky question. Let me think about it for a second. Okay. Yeah. And that won't affect your fluency because you've made it clear for the examiner. This is about the ideas and the content rather than the grammar and the vocabulary. Okay. Don't do it with every question because they might think that it's a bit of a trick. But if you get a very difficult question, that can buy you a little bit of time. Okay. Right. Okay, good. So looking at the part 2 topic card. So the topic card, you have to prepare for 1 minute and you'll be speaking for 1 to 2 minutes. So it's not much time to prepare. That minute to prepare will go really quickly. For some people, by the time they finish reading the topic card, the examiner is saying, could you start speaking now, please? Okay. And then speaking for 2 minutes, if you run out of things to say early, that is a very long time. Remember, speaking for 1 to 2 minutes, if you are about 1.5 minutes and you run out of things to say, just say to the examiner, look at your preparation and say, I think that's it. Let me see if there's anything else I could say. Mm-hmm. Look down, check your preparation. You might get a prompt. You might think of something else, and then you can continue speaking. If you really don't know what to say next, you can just say, no, I think that's everything. I think I've spoken for more than a minute. So you can close it. The examiner will say, is there anything more that you'd like to say about this? If you are sure you are over about 1.5 minutes, saying, no, I think that's everything that's relevant, really, or something like that, you can close it. For high-level speakers and for people who have prepared well, they shouldn't have a problem speaking for 2 minutes, though. So that is really in the most desperate situations, you might do that. Okay, so let's take a look at this topic card and this one about a time you visited a friend or family member at their workplace. So take a minute to prepare it and think about it, Christine, and then speaking for 1 to 2 minutes. And while Christine is doing that, so thank you so much for the people joining us on the stream. Really appreciate you guys coming along and finding the time to be here. Don't forget to like and share this so that other people can benefit from it as well. But really appreciate you guys coming along. This will stay on the page, on the group, and it will also be on YouTube if anybody wants to refer back. And usually, you know, we set aside an hour for these sessions with the view to having a few different speakers. So if you want to take part, you are most welcome. You can get some really useful feedback. Okay, Christine. All right. Remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this. Don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Could you start speaking now, please?
Right. I'll be describing a time that when I visited a friend at their workplace. So the first person that went into my mind is my friend Monica. She's like my sister or my work BFF, and I currently work with her in the patient food service department of South Health Campus, which is the newest and biggest hospital in our city. It was a sunny day, and even though it's sunny, it's always chilly here in our city anyway because it's sub-zero during wintertime most of the time. I dropped by our workplace like lounge area because that's where my coworkers and I usually hang out when we have our breaks or during our free time before we start our shifts. And this is where we usually just like play card games or hang out or sit down and eat our snacks when we have our free time. The reason why I visited here, even though I was not working at that time, because we were planning that we were going to visit our coworker after her shift. And then we would usually hang out at their place to watch movies or like just, you know, to bond with different coworkers, even if there's a pandemic right now, since we can't really go out and dine in restaurants or go to public areas. I usually love hanging out with Monica because she's easygoing, she's approachable, and she's around my age, whereas most of our coworkers are around mid 40s and 50s. And there's quite a gap between our age when it comes to socializing with them.
All right. Okay, good. That's 2 minutes. Well done. So the full 2 minutes there. In the real test, what would happen now is the examiner would ask you one question just to close it. So they would ask a follow-up question like, do you visit this person often? Or something like that. Mm-hmm. Because you've hit the 2 minutes, you would start answering and they would stop you straight away and move on to the part 3. Okay, but okay, good. Any repeated words there?
Friend.
Well, yes.
I was okay. I don't know. I didn't notice anything. Maybe outgoing, hang out. That's what I said a lot.
Hang out, yeah. So you keep coming back to this verb, hang out. It's good vocabulary. It's a phrasal verb, very natural, idiomatic language. So lots of people wonder what they should be doing for idioms. These kinds of phrasal verbs, hang out, drop by, these are quite high-level vocabulary. Lots of people don't usually think of them as being high-level vocabulary. If they start looking for idioms, they start looking for longer phrases, which are a lot less flexible and difficult to use naturally. So some really nice natural use there. Also talking about bonding with people, my language for personality, my friend is easygoing, they're approachable. It took you a little while to get started and there were some hesitations. Yeah. So the fluency wasn't perfect, but it was good.
Like, maybe please state a specific example.
So at the beginning of the topic card, if you listen back to it, you'll notice there's a couple of stumbles there.
Right, because I couldn't see. My screen is so tiny. Like, I'm trying to read the topic. Like, I was trying to just, like, read the statement to give, like, to introduce the topic.
Yeah. So that can be quite difficult if you're doing it on a phone. I would recommend using a laptop because the clarity is just a bit better. At the beginning as well, there was a grammatical slip.
What did
a time that when I visited. A time that when?
A time when I visited.
Okay, or a time that I visited. Okay. Either is fine as a correction. Really slight grammatical slip there. What do you mean by a BFF?
Should I avoid BFF? Saying that? Best friends forever. Work, like that's kind of a slang that people use. Work BFF, work wife. Is that wrong?
It's not wrong, but I would just explain it to show you know what it means.
BFF, it's a common acronym.
I wouldn't explain it in that level of detail. She's my friend at work. I would say she's my work BFF. That just means that she's my best friend in the workplace or something like that. Yeah. So just a really short explanation show what it means. For nurses as well, I know that you have some medical expertise or you are very interested in nursing. Sometimes people from the medical professions taking the IELTS test drop in medical abbreviations into their test, and the examiner might not know what they mean. So just be a bit careful with abbreviations. Just in this case, it is quite a simple slang abbreviation. You wouldn't need to do too much. If you're using higher level or technical abbreviations, you should definitely give the full phrase, expand it and explain it, because otherwise you might have a very confused examiner if they say, well, you didn't really explain that, you didn't demonstrate understanding, that could be a problem. But yeah, it's fine. I would just add a short clarifying phrase to follow it
within my talk time.
And absolutely. And this is also showing something called paraphrase. Paraphrase is really good at showing your variety of vocabulary. So you're showing you can say the same things in a couple of different ways, and that is great for your range of vocabulary. But yeah, in the speaking test, you can be informal and use some of this slang. In the writing test, don't do it at all. Okay. Yeah, I think, your writing's fairly good. Okay. So well done, Christine. Let's take a look at the speaking part 3. Speaking part 3 is a higher level discussion. It lasts for 4 to 5 minutes and the examiner makes up the questions. So no two speaking part 3s are the same. The examiner will respond to what you say and they will expand based on the answers that you give. If you're not sure about anything, feel free to ask. Remember, this is not a listening test or a comprehension test. This is about your speaking. If you don't understand the question, feel free to say to the examiner, oh, what did you mean by this? And ask them for the specific word. Or in part 3, you can also ask them just to rephrase the question as well. So don't be too worried about asking the examiner. It shows good communication. This is not a listening test. It's a speaking test. Okay, Christine, so you've been talking about a time you visited a friend at the workplace, and I'd like to ask you 1 or 2 more general questions related to this. Let's talk about different kinds of workplaces. What things make an office comfortable to work in?
Sorry, may you repeat the question, please?
What things make an office comfortable to work in?
I think it is important for the employers to have like a comfortable environment, like with a healthy environment. Maybe a good boss, that's important. And I think it is also necessity if the employers are happy with the work itself. If there's too much pressure, that might give a bad effect towards their productivity.
So those are some of the less tangible things. What about, for example, in terms of office furnishings? what effect do they have on the comfort in your office?
It depends. So by furnishing, do you mean like the availability of the facilities in the workplace?
Yeah, facilities, furniture,
Okay.
those sorts of things.
So I think it's a good way for me to give an example to explain myself. Like in the Philippines, it's a third world country. We weren't really blessed when it comes to like the companies providing the necessary furnished items and in the workplace, whereas here in Canada we are well provided. Like again, as I stated a while ago, in my workplace right now we have a lounge which is considered like really fancy. We have sofas, we have televisions, we have like a lot of seating areas for for the employers to hang out at too. But like in the Philippines, we have to just like sit on our desk and just like eat there, and we even have to bring our lunch and everything. But here we are provided with microwave, and we also have a stove. We can cook at our workplace.
Okay. Why do you think some people prefer to work outdoors?
That is because people have the independence when it comes to just like working, or when it comes to choosing where they want to work. Especially when you work for yourself, you have like your own time. You are free to just like do whatever you want. Whereas if you're stuck in an office, it can be very limiting. And also, there might be a health impact when it comes to like working and sitting all the time.
Okay. So what impact does having a very physical job have on your health?
There are disadvantages and advantages, I believe. So if you're working that for a job that is physically taxing or physically demanding, you might be in risk for hazardous impacts, such as you're more prone to, if you do a job that is related to have like it requires you to lift heavy objects. It might affect your body or your oh man, I forgot the term, like your musculoskeletal system. But if you just like your job is just related to an office job, you're just sitting all the time, it's more relaxing and less physically demanding.
Okay. Let's move on and talk about the importance of work. What would life be like if people didn't have to work?
If people wouldn't work, that's we will be having issues with our financial demands. Also, I think it affects our mental health. Like a lot of people are suffering from depression these days, or their mental health are affected because we are more isolated due to the pandemic that is going around. But if you're exposed to different types of people, if you're actually engaging with people, and I feel like that is good for your mental health compared to when you're just on isolation.
Okay, all right, good. So 4 minutes 45 seconds there. So pretty much just under a perfect length, part 3. And you'll notice, guys listening in, that I was letting her just continue because she wants to keep going. I sit back and let Christine do most of the talking. And that is, what the examiner will do in your test. A couple of points there again where the fluency slips a bit on, especially when you're trying to think of slightly higher level vocabulary. Let me just find it on my notes. So you talking about the musculoskeletal system, brilliant vocabulary, really high level. But to get it, you did say, "Oh, I forgot the term." And then,
should I not do that?
I would avoid telling the examiner you forgot the term and just go for something a bit simpler. It can be hard on your muscles or something. Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
Okay.
you know, by doing that, you may prompt musculoskeletal system. If not, don't worry about it. You're doing plenty for the vocabulary already.
Okay.
So good vocabulary there. She talks about work being physically taxing. I will just pop that into the comments. Physically taxing. That is a very high level way to describe hard physical work. Other things that she was saying, she was talking about, it can have hazardous impacts. Impacts prefer effects.
Hazardous effect. Hazardous effect. Okay.
Yeah. You gave a very good piece of vocabulary, but then you dropped it. You were talking about these impacts, and you were saying people may become more prone to something. That is very high level vocabulary. And then you kind of reorganized and dropped it. Would have been really nice to just continue that. Prone to back problems. Yeah. So you're trying to get really high level vocabulary. Sometimes simpler vocabulary would be better.
Okay.
Just to prevent the interruption to the flow. Because prone, that is very flexible and precise use. That is high level vocabulary already. So you're using high level vocabulary without thinking too much about it. There were a few errors there. Employers or employees?
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, okay. Employees.
Employees. Okay, so you got a pronunciation error there with a relatively simple word. You're talking about the people who provide the jobs rather than the people who do the jobs.
It's not with the pronunciation. It's just like the wrong use of word.
Yeah. Another one where you were struggling with the word form. You said it's a necessity.
Yeah, because I was torn between necessary or necessity.
Yeah, so tripping over the word form a bit there. Slight impacts on fluency. A couple of co-location errors. So at the Philippines, we have to sit on our desk. Sit on our desk?
Right.
On
our chairs.
At our desk. Yeah, if you say you sit on your desk, you are physically sitting on top of the desk. You're sitting at your desk in a chair. Right. Yeah. So it might be a local pronunciation thing. What do you call the comfortable seat that people sit on? It's usually quite long, might have cushions.
Couch.
Or
sofa.
Sofa.
Oh, we in the Philippines we say sofa. Sofa.
Okay. What do they say in Canada?
I didn't really I know that it's sofa. Is it wrong?
Yeah.
Sofa.
The stress is okay.
Yeah,
I was wondering if it's a local sort of Canadian Calgary thing, in which case the examiner would be used to it. If it's not, then that is a stress error. Sofa, not so far. Sofa.
That's the Philippine way.
Okay. Yeah. And then let's have a look if there's anything else. Another thing, if people wouldn't work, we will be. If people didn't work, we would be. So you've got a grammatical slip with the conditional there that it's in the wrong order. If people didn't work, we would be something. Not if people wouldn't work, we will be. So the tenses in those conditionals are quite well controlled. We are going to be looking at conditionals in some of our sessions. Conditionals, phrases starting with if. If I did this, then something would happen. If I do that, then something will happen. The verb tenses that we use for those are quite fixed, and it's slightly wrong. So that is a very high level grammatical mistake. Usually your grammar is very good, but in some of these more complex phrases, there are some. Yeah, if people didn't work, if people didn't past, then we wouldn't. would
Okay,
do
okay.
or would
It
not
makes
do. That
sense.
is giving an imaginary situation. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
okay.
called, that is something called the second conditional.
Okay,
So
okay.
just review those conditional forms. Okay, we are going to look at conditionals as well in the group.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well done, Christine. In terms
Yeah.
of the level there, as the listeners and people watching this will probably be aware, it's very high. It's not perfect. There are a few things. Oh, there was one more. Let me find it. Sit on our desk. In risk, people are in risk of something.
At.
Okay, so a couple of
risk.
prepositions. Yeah, a couple of preposition slips as well.
Okay.
The examiner, when you're speaking, is going to be listening really, really carefully because they don't want to just give out the very highest bands unless they are really earned, and those kinds of mistakes will pull it down very slightly. So really strong. But not perfect, but Christine is a very, very good speaker. Okay, so thank you, Christine. Been a pleasure to have you on the channel.
Right,
what are you going to do with the rest of your day?
I'm going to sleep for now.
Okay, all right, Christine. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, just to clarify. So second, the conditional ones. So if and were, right? If I were.
Yeah.
And if people didn't, we wouldn't. I thought
yes.
you were. So it's okay to be inclusive. I would also include myself, we, if I said people, right? Because I'm also part of people.
Yes. Okay. This isn't writing where we try to avoid using words like we. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So, but there is a slight muddle up with the tenses and the structure in that second conditional. Okay. And in terms of grammatical mistakes, it's a very high level one. But if there were any questions about whether or not to give you the very highest grammatical scores, there aren't any more. Yeah.
Is this the hardest that you gave me?
Sorry?
Is this the hardest one?
Is this test? Are these questions difficult?
Part 3 the hardest? The part 3 the hardest that you gave me?
No, actually. No. We would have been talking a lot more about the importance of work for the hardest part 3.
Right.
And probably occupational health and safety.
I think
or safety in the workplace.
Answered that easily because I would be saying stuff related to medical. Medical terminologies. But I was struggling with furnished, something like that. I'm not familiar with that.
Furnished. Yeah. Actually, well done. I do actually have it circled. Unfortunately, I'm working on quite a scrappy bit of paper with lots of notes on it. So it has slipped. Yeah, furnish items. Furniture.
Okay.
Furniture. Okay. Yeah. So furnish items. It sounds a bit unusual, and when you said it, instantly jogs my memory. My bit of paper here is quite scrappy, but really good. Otherwise, really good. Well done, Christine. Very high level speaking. So I think you're going to do quite well. Okay. Thank you so much for making the time to come along, Christine. It's been a pleasure to have you here. Anybody who is watching this, you can take part in these sessions. We'd love to have you along. They are announced and posted in our Facebook group. If you go to YouTube, you can find the link to that there. Also, check out our website. There are some good IELTS preparation materials there, and we are adding more all the time. So thank you, Christine. Take care and sleep well. I'll take you off the stream. And thank you, everybody else who has joined us. Don't forget to like, comment, and share so that we can get more people into these sessions and benefiting from some of the feedback. And if you want some feedback on your speaking, join these live streams. It's absolutely free, and we would love to have you along. Okay, so thank you for coming along. Take care, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Don't forget, for people listening in, we do have a free reading session at 1 p.m. UK time today. You can find the link to that event in the group. And then tomorrow I will also be leading an IELTS writing session, also at 1 p.m. UK time. Take care, everybody, and bye-bye.